Hey, what's up, everybody? You are listening to Roundtable Wrestling Radio for June 28th, 2012, Thursday night. I'm, of course, your host, Joey924, and with me from the great state of New Jersey.
It's Pat McDermott here on day 30 of my DDP yoga. 14 pounds down, baby.
Yeah, congratulations about that. Awesome stuff. Of course, really, really works, doesn't it? I mean, this we've been promoting it for 5 years. And we've had a lot of people, besides yourself, buy the program because of this show and actually get results. It actually really works.
I can't put it over enough. I've actually had people I know, not necessarily from the show, but friends who have seen my progress and went and bought the program or checked out the program. And from there, it's even more inspiring because then you're inspiring someone to do something that DDP inspired you to do.
Absolutely. And it's cool that, it's someone like Diamond Dallas Page doing it. So, it's very, very cool. It's still in the industry. And again, it does produce results, real results. So,
and the thing is, too, it feels very real because you know what it is? When you get this program, it's not like you buy the program and you're in. It's not like there's DDP weight powder or DDP fitness bars or a special drink that you drink. This is all natural foods and just doing the workouts. It's helping you make a better life for yourself.
Oh, absolutely. No question about it. I mean, we had DDP on a few weeks ago. If you haven't heard that episode, I recommend that you do. I also strongly recommend, if you did not check out Monday night's episode, we had the franchise Shane Douglas, of course, ExtremeReunion.com, ExtremeReunion.net is the place you want to go to for your information for this weekend's shows. As a matter of fact, tomorrow night. Yeah, tomorrow night, Friday, June 29th, and of course, June 30th in Philadelphia. Tomorrow we'll be in Corona, New York, and Philadelphia on Saturday night. So get your information on ExtremeReunion.net. And once again, check out that interview, Shane Douglas talking candidly with us about a lot of things. His invasion of Monday Night Raw this year, the TNA ECW thing that happened, and why he didn't participate, Sabu and the picture from TMZ. I mean, he talks very frankly about that. It's a can't miss interview in my opinion.
Yeah, and seeing how responsible, that's what I love about when we spoke to him is he was responsible. Like, he took responsibility for the fact that a lot of people didn't care for the last show who had seen it afterwards, and a lot of things had happened. And that takes a lot from somebody, which I think that means these Extreme Rising shows are going to be phenomenal.
I mean, you have Jerry Lynn against Matt Hardy tomorrow night in Corona. I wish I could be there, honestly.
Right.
That is awesome stuff right there.
There's a lot of great people on there, and they're all looking to put forward a really good product. So I really hope these turn out fantastic. I think that, like you said, Matt Hardy and Jerry Lynn, I mean, that sells a ticket right there to me.
And then, of course, on Saturday night, it's going to be Jerry Lynn and Homicide. Once again, I mean, anybody that has ever watched Jerry Lynn, and he's been on this show before, extraordinary piece of talent. I mean, I have him in my game. I use him a lot. I just love Jerry Lynn. I'm a huge fan of Jerry Lynn. So we're going to talk more about that a little bit later on, about Extreme Reunion and the shows coming up tomorrow and Saturday night. What is up, everybody? We are back here on Roundtable Wrestling Radio for Thursday night, June 28, 2012. It is my privilege and honor to welcome one of the original gangsters, original member of the ECW roster, and, of course, part of Extreme Rising this weekend, the one, the only, New Jack. Sir, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
What's going on, man?
How you doing, sir? It has been...
I'm good.
Yes.
Great to have you on.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, of course, this weekend, tomorrow and Saturday, the big Extreme Reunion shows. You're a big part of that, obviously, a big part of the original ECW. We had Shane Douglas this past Monday talking about it.
Right.
How do you feel about the shows, and are you ready for the action this weekend?
Well, I'll be doing the one Saturday in Philly. I'm not doing the one in New York.
Oh, okay.
And
Philly.
Yeah, I'm just doing Philly.
Oh, okay.
I have had so many issues. I've had too many issues in some states, and it's just some of them I just refuse to go back to and wrestle, and New York happens to be one of them. You know, I won't go there. I'm just like, the hell with them, so I'm not going.
Well, that's a shame because we're from New York, so.
Yeah, well, nah, you're bad, but anyway, no, I'm just kidding. But no, we should have a good time. You know what I mean? Mustafa doing fine. You know what I mean? I talked to him on the phone today earlier.
Yeah.
And
he actually
was
called
like,
into the show a few years ago. Awesome dude, obviously, and you know, so it's really, really. So you guys are going to be together on Saturday as a tag team?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know, the Gangsters. I mean, for real, we are really the only surviving tag team that's left from back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, we get together on some occasions, but I mean, you know, we're the only remaining team out of everybody that's still a part of each other. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you know, my thing is, you know, I agreed to come back, you know, and mostly help these younger guys. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of them are so misdirected and they don't have a clue as to where they're going and what they want to do, and just trying to develop, you know, characters and personalities and everything like that. And that's what, you know, my role has been more behind the curtain, trying to help these guys than anything else. And, you know, to see them come up and, you know, branch out and go to greener pastures, then, you know, I think that's my give back to what I did. You know what I mean? Because I had people that reached and took me by the hand, like Ricky Moore and Robert Gibson, Tracy Smothers, Ray Candy. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, you know, this is me. I'm being the Ray Candy and the Ricky and Robert back to these kids that's trying to come up now, you know.
And I see you always have, like, on these shoot interviews, you always have, like, a good relationship with Jim Cornette. Is that one of the other guys that kind of, you know, because you obviously wrestled for his organization for a while. Are you guys, is that one of the guys that you, you know, say that helped you out throughout your career, Jim Cornette?
I mean, on a personal level, I got to a point where I didn't like Cornette. But, you know, and I've always given him credit, he came up with, he helped me when we was talking about, you know, forming a tag team. You know, he said, and his exact words were, he said, Jack, I want a black tag team to come to Smoky Mountain. He said, do you have a partner? And at the time, I didn't. And I said, me and Mustafa had been talking about tagging. And he said, well, I want to see y'all work together, because he happened to see us on TV in Atlanta when we was coming on like 4 o'clock a.m. And he said he had just came back in, and he was at the hotel, and he saw the show that we were working on, which was North Georgia Wrestling, and he saw it. He saw me, and then he was like, you know, I want you, if you come up with a partner. So me and Mustafa, we decided that, you know, we would tag and whatever. So when we worked the show with Cornette the next time, then on his way home, he said, Jack, we need a name for y'all. You know what I mean? And I said, I had tossed around a bunch of names, and he had tossed around a bunch of names. So we narrowed it down, and he was on the phone, and he said, what about the Gangsters? T-H-E, Gangsters.
Right.
And I said, what about the D-A, Gangsters? A-S at the end. Take off the E-R. And he was like, I like it. So that's how the Gangsters formed over a fucking phone call. It's like when not Devon, I'm sorry, but when D-Lo got his name. And right. Cornette called me one day. He said, Jack, I think I got his name for AC. And I said, what? He said, because the thing was for him, he would always, we came out way before the Nation of Domination doing this thing with the Gangsters, and we had like 5 or 6 people come out to the ring with us. Well, that's where, you know, Vince stole the idea from the Nation when he, you know, put them together. It came from the Gangsters. But he was like, he said, we can get a new crew, he said, but I don't trust New Jack. He said, that guy might go off the bat at any given moment. He said, I don't trust him, and He's liability, in other words. So they brought up D-Lo, and we had already went to Smoky Mountains. But Cornette was like, before we went, he was like, well, we got to think of a name. He said, because every time we go to a town, and we went to a town like one time, like way up in the mountains of Kentucky, and the only black person that was in that town was some nigga that drive through a Kentucky Fried Chicken. You know what I mean? There wasn't nobody else black nowhere to be found for miles. And I'm sitting there like, okay, Jim, where am I going to go out here looking for black people at? You know what I mean? You go try to bail a few of them out of jail. I'm like, where am I going to find them? So then I said, why don't you just let D-Lo, at the time, it was AC Commons, I said, why don't you let him be one of our security guys? So he's like, all right, well, he said, you sure? He said, do you like him? I said, no, I don't. Ain't that I like him. I said, I barely even know the cat. I said, but he's high yellow, but he's black. So he was like, okay, well, we'll use him. He said, so you cool with it? I said, yeah, but he kind of take off that funky outfit he had on, because he had on a one-piece singlet and some gold Shawn Michaels high long wristbands, and I'm like, bro, that ain't gonna fly. That you got to change clothes. I'm like, that is not gonna work. So he put him on with us, and then that night again he called me. He said, Jack, I thought of him, and I said, what? He says, what about Downtown D-Lo Brown? And it was quiet on the phone for about 10 seconds, and Jim was inhaling a bunch of air, and he blurted out this laugh that went on for about 5 minutes. And before to God, I really believe he had literally fell over wherever he was laughing. And I was like, oh my God. And I said, dude, that's his name. It ain't mine. I'm like, but if he want to be called Downtown D-Lo Brown, then God bless him. So they ended up dropping the downtown part, but that's where his name came from.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, if you cool with it, I'm cool with it. But then, I started to hear stuff, and then I heard Cornette one time call one of the security guys a nigga, and that was the night that Mustafa had quit, and I quit, I think, the next week because I had to go back and get my check. And I was like, hey, bro, I've had enough of this shit. And I went on, and I had to talk to Todd Gordon because, the whole reasoning for us to even reach out to ECW was Al Snow said, Jack, y'all need to be in ECW. And at the time, I was like, where is that? Who is that? He was trying to explain the whole ECW thing to me. He's like, dude, he said, y'all will be at home there. You know what I mean? He said, because of the style that y'all do, he said, y'all brawl and wrestle a little bit. And that's why I laugh a lot of times. People say, oh, New Jack can't wrestle. I will wrestle rings around somebody. I was just like, they wanted me to brawl. They wanted us to do street fights. And at the end of my run in Smoky Mountain, then, we started doing street fights. So when we went over to ECW, and it continued. And then one night, Paul Lee came up with the bright idea. He said, just do a street fight. And we did it. And the next show, I said, well, can you keep our music playing through the whole match? He said, why? I said, because we just went in this street fight. I said, the only thing was missing was music like on TV.
Right.
I said, so can you play our music through the whole match? And it'll be like a 10, 15-minute long street fight with music in the background. I'm like, it'll be different, never been done before, but I think it would fit. So we did it again. And then he came back. He said, Jack, let's do this every show. I said, man, I'm tired. And he was like, no. He said, Jack, we could do it. This could be y'all every show. So we was basically doing a dance every night for the next 5 years, and it was no break, no rest, no nothing. And then once we started, I pissed Paul off about somebody. I forgot which one of them it was. But he was mad at me about something, so then we was doing jobs every night, for about 2 months. And that was the night I started diving off of stuff. And I told Mustafa, I said, they're not going to remember the finish to the match. I said, because I'm going to dive. And I said, he said, dive on what? I said, something in here I could find that's high. I'm going to dive off of it. And once I started doing it, they didn't care who won, who went over. Didn't nobody care. They just wanted to see me dive. So it was to a point when I knew that it was over, then he started asking me to do it. I said, so, now you need me to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now we need to talk